It is 2 in the morning. Your body is incredibly heavy, your muscles are aching, and your eyes are burning with a deep physical exhaustion. But your mind is running at 100 miles an hour. You are staring up at the dark ceiling, replaying conversations from the day, thinking about all the things you should have said, and dwelling on all the things you actually said instead. Usually what you said was simply, yes. Yes, I can help. Yes, that is fine. Yes, no problem at all. You swallow your own inconvenience to make someone else's life easier. And now, in the quiet isolation of the night, your brain is demanding payment for that sacrifice. You are lying there feeling a hollow, restless mixture of resentment and anxiety, wondering why you always end up carrying everybody else's weight while your own life feels like it is quietly sinking into the background. We often treat nighttime overthinking as if it is just a random biological sleep issue or a quirky byproduct of having an active mind. But very often it is something much more specific and painful. It is the direct consequence of the nice guy trap, or what is more accurately known as chronic people-pleasing. When you spend your entire day suppressing your own needs, burying your boundaries, and shrinking yourself down to keep the peace, your brain does not just forget about it. It stores that unexpressed frustration. It saves up all that abandoned self-worth. When you smile through discomfort, when you nod along to things you entirely disagree with, when you ignore your own fatigue because someone else needs a favor, you are treating yourself like an afterthought. And your mind keeps a meticulous ledger of every time you abandon yourself. The moment your head hits the pillow and there are no more daylight distractions, your mind opens the vault. Your overthinking at night is not a malfunction. It is your suppressed inner voice finally getting a quiet room to scream in. It is the delayed emotional bill for being too accommodating all day long. I know exactly how this feels because I lived quietly inside this trap for years. I was the person who was always available, always reliable, always okay with whatever anyone else wanted to do. My default setting was accommodation. I thought that being good meant being endlessly useful. I believed that my value in any room was directly tied to how much heavy lifting I could do for the people around me, both physically and emotionally. I remember one specific weekend that finally broke the illusion for me. A friend had called, asking for help packing up his apartment for a sudden move. I already had a desperately needed weekend of rest planned. I was exhausted from work and practically running on fumes. But the moment he asked, the word yes fell out of my mouth before I could even consult my own exhaustion. I spent the entire Friday night hauling heavy boxes, deep cleaning his kitchen, and organizing his living room until 3 in the morning. I was physically drained, covered in dust, and completely numb. When I finally got back to my own apartment and collapsed into bed, I expected to pass out immediately from sheer fatigue. Instead, my brain turned on. The long movie began to play. I lay there analyzing every single interaction. Did he appreciate how much I did? Did I pack those fragile items carefully enough? Why did I apologize when he accidentally bumped into me in the hallway? Then, the next morning, running on 2 hours of fragmented, anxious sleep, I picked up my phone. I opened social media and saw a story he had just posted. He was out at a loud, expensive brunch with another group of friends, looking perfectly rested, happy, and laughing over mimosas. There was no malicious intent in his post. He was not trying to hurt me. He was simply living his life. But I was sitting there in my dark bedroom, feeling a cold, bitter knot form in the pit of my stomach. My bones ached. I was entirely depleted, and he had already moved on to the next fun thing. The hardest truth in that moment was not that he was inconsiderate. The hardest truth, the one that stung the absolute most, was that I had done this to myself. I had volunteered for my own exhaustion. You cannot expect someone else to respect a boundary that you refuse to draw. You cannot be silently furious at someone for walking through a door you deliberately left wide open. This is what the people-pleasing trap looks like in real time. We convince ourselves that by being endlessly helpful, we are building a reservoir of love, loyalty, and safety. But in reality, we are just teaching people that our time has absolutely no value. We are teaching them that our boundaries do not exist. Underneath the automatic yes is rarely genuine, overflowing generosity. More often, it is a profound, unacknowledged fear. It is the fear that if you say no, you will be seen as difficult, selfish, or unlovable. It is the subconscious, lingering belief that your presence alone is not enough, that you have to constantly pay rent for your relationships by being perpetually useful. You secretly wonder if you stop doing things for people, if you stop being the easy one, will they still want you around? You can see this pattern bleeding into every corner of your life. It is there when a coworker asks you to take on extra work or cover a shift you absolutely do not have the energy for. You hear yourself saying that you can make that work, while your chest immediately tightens with anxiety. You swallow your own burnout so they do not have to feel a single moment of inconvenience. It is there in the way you communicate daily. You might spend 20 minutes typing, deleting, and retyping a simple text message. You water down your own needs, adding exclamation points and emojis, just to make sure the other person does not feel slightly disappointed or challenged. You apologize for taking up space. You say sorry when someone else steps on your foot. You dilute your own personality until you are nothing but a pleasant, agreeable mirror reflecting exactly what everyone else wants to see. Every time you do this, every time you abandon your own boundary to cushion someone else's reality, you are sending a devastating message to your own nervous system. You are telling yourself that your needs simply do not matter as much as theirs. Over time, that creates a deep, invisible resentment. It is an anger that you do not feel allowed to express, so it turns inward. It turns into that buzzing, restless energy that keeps you staring at the bedroom ceiling at night. Your bed becomes a courtroom where you put yourself on trial for the boundaries you failed to protect during the day. If you are recognizing yourself in this cycle, I need you to hear something very clearly. You are not weak for doing this. You are not foolish, and you are not broken. This hyper-awareness of other people's needs is a survival strategy. Somewhere along the way, likely a long time ago, you learned that being agreeable was the safest way to exist in an unpredictable environment. You learned that conflict was inherently dangerous, and that pleasing people was the shield that protected you from rejection. Your overthinking and your inability to say no are not character flaws. They are an outdated armor. But you are carrying that heavy, exhausting armor into a present where you no longer need it. And the sheer weight of it is crushing your ability to rest. So how do we step out of this trap? How do we reclaim our daytime boundaries so we can finally sleep at night? It starts with uncoupling the word no from the idea of aggression. For a chronic people pleaser, saying no feels like dropping a bomb. We think it has to be a harsh confrontation, but a real boundary is actually very quiet. It does not require a long, over-explained apology, and it certainly does not require you to justify your existence. You do not need a doctor's note to explain why you want to spend Friday night alone. You can protect your peace using a simple, short statement combined with a gentle alternative. If someone asks for your time when you are empty, you do not have to invent a fake emergency. You can simply say that you are at capacity right now, so you cannot help with the whole project, but you can look over their notes on Tuesday. Or you can say that you cannot stay the whole evening, but you would love to drop by for 30 minutes to say hello. You are allowed to give a fraction of your energy without giving away your whole soul. You are allowed to offer an alternative that actually works for you. And as you start practicing this during the day, you also have to manage the anxiety loop that waits for you at night. When you first start setting boundaries, the nighttime overthinking might actually spike, Your brain will panic because you are breaking an old, deeply ingrained rule. To handle this, you need to create what psychologists call a worry time during your daylight hours. Give yourself 15 minutes in the middle of the afternoon to just sit with your anxieties. Write down everything that is bothering you. Write down every guilt trip, every fear of rejection, every conversation you are overanalyzing. Process it while the sun is up. Do not wait until your head hits the pillow to open the heavily guarded file cabinets of your mind. Then, build a bridge between your daytime life and your nighttime rest. Before you turn off the light, take a pen and write down 3 simple lines on a piece of paper. Not a massive journal entry, just 3 specific things. Write down one thing that drains you today. Write down one thing you are actively letting go of. And write down one boundary you will hold tomorrow. Getting it out of your head and physically onto the paper signals to your brain that the workday of the mind is officially over. The shift has ended. The desk is clear. And when you lie down in the dark and that familiar reel of anxious thoughts tries to start playing, when your heart starts to race with the memory of a conversation, you have to deliberately change your body's channel. Use a simple breathing rhythm. Inhale quietly through your nose for 4 seconds and exhale very slowly through your mouth for 6 seconds. This specific ratio, extending the exhale longer than the inhale, acts as a biological brake pedal for your nervous system. It physically forces your heart rate to slow down. It sends a direct signal to your vagus nerve, telling your body that you are no longer in danger, that you are not under threat, and that you are safe, right here, right now. The first time I really said no to something I did not want to do, my voice shook. I felt a wave of crushing guilt that lasted for hours. But then, something else happened. Night came. I lay down in my bed, and for the first time in months, it was quiet. There was no chaotic movie playing in my head. There was no bitter resentment burning in my chest. There was just the cool sheets, the dark room, and the profound, unfamiliar relief of knowing I belonged entirely to myself. You do not have to set yourself on fire just to keep other people warm. You are allowed to take up space. You are allowed to be temporarily inconvenient to others in order to be true to yourself. You are allowed to close your door and rest without feeling like you have to earn it first. Let the day end. Let the heavy expectations go. Close your eyes, breathe into the quiet, and just be here.